So our theme for this year, for this month, is Masters of Love, Power, and Play. And today we're going to focus on the play part because we need to be having fun. And I have got the 3 easy steps for you to have all the fun. So by next week, if you're not having fun, then come and I'll rewrite my 3 steps. But you got to really practice them. What I do, money back guarantee. But the serious part, the title of today's talk is Seriously Have Fun. The serious part is that you have to actually practice it consistently every day. So you can't come back to me next week and say it doesn't work, but you didn't practice it. So that's the serious part. You got to practice. You can't be good at any playing if you don't practice. But the beauty of playing is you're practicing and playing all at the same time. So the 3 easy steps. Relax. It really is. Relax. It's so simple. Know what you're for and be present in the moment. Those are the 3 steps that you're going to be practicing this week. So relax. This is actually fairly easy. Right, Sheila? So here's the way when I was in high school and I had a really intense test, like I was just really nervous about it, the way I would relax myself is just say, a year from now, this test isn't even I'm not going to even remember this test. So I actually did a test with myself, which is, I said, a year, okay, I wrote it down. I'm like, a year from now, I want to come back and think about this test. And I did that. So I did it when I was a junior, and then I was a senior, and I looked at the date, because I had a journal, and I thought about that test, I couldn't even remember it. And so sometimes what happens in our life, we just get so serious about life and what's before us. Everything's out of perspective. I had a real hit on this in our meditation class. Emily Fisher is a teacher at Valley Montessori School, and I've been facilitating a meditation class for middle school kids, 6 of whom are boys, although all 6 weren't there. So I brought the Phil Jackson book. Phil Jackson was the coach for the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan played. Who knows Michael Jordan here? But you all laugh. I asked them, so do you guys know Michael Jordan? No, I've never heard of him. And I'm like, what? And one person said, well, I might have heard his name. And I'm like, what? Michael Jordan? You're 8th grade boys. How do you not know Michael Jordan? And it was the most perspective-changing reality. The things that we think are so big. And so, Michael Jordan was larger than life. And you really get that if you're reading Sacred Hoops. You really get how, the guy, even today, who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? In the test that I see, Michael Jordan is still winning with people who pay this because they're my age. But that Michael Jordan loomed large. He was a mythic figure in our culture, and now our middle school kids don't even know who he was. We think that what we're doing is so important. And 150 years from now, everyone that's on this planet currently will no longer be here. A few people will be talked about, but most of us are not going to be talked about 150 years from now. So that's just the one easiest way to just relax. Do that during this week. When you have this looming task list, when you have these deadlines that have to get done, just relax and remember, 150 years, who's going to care? Relax, just put things in perspective, that we're not the center of the universe. When you look at that's another way of putting ourselves in perspective, is looking at the galaxies upon galaxies and the billions of stars. And we're just this tiny speck here for only a moment. So don't take ourselves so seriously. And that can be hard because on the other hand, we're saying, every person's unique, your voice is essential. Yeah, that's all a lie. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. We are important, but we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. So there's always that line. We want to take things serious. We want to be serious about God and about our life in God because that's what's eternal. That is what will last beyond our own egoic personalities. But we don't want to take our egoic personalities too seriously and all the tasks. What's interesting about this world that we live in is we co-create it. All the deadlines that we create, all the things that we have to do, we've created that. God didn't create that. The absolute presence hasn't created this world. We created this world. We co-created it. So this gets to my second point, which is, what are we for? Now, this past week, we had that horrible experience with Charlie I tried to practice the last name. Can someone say it for me? Hadab, is that it? Charlie Hebdo. I listened to it and I just couldn't repeat it. But you know what I'm referring to? That happened in Paris? The murders? And then what arose in social media is Je suis Charlie. I am Charlie, to say that everyone is allowed free speech. I couldn't bring myself to do that because when I looked at the cartoons that this magazine put out, they were vicious, they were cruel, they were violent, and I couldn't align myself with that type of speech, with that type of approaching the world, of how to fix the world is by being a terrorist with a pen. You know, we say the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, if we really believe that, then we should be careful about what we're doing with, just as we want people to be careful with what they do with weapons, we should be just as careful with what we do with our words. I actually think the pen creates the sword in many times. Through our violent ideas, through our violent words, swords, violence starts to follow that. I was really being with that. So I would say, yes, they have freedom of speech, but there's also the freedom of consequence from our speech. Nothing can deny that when we are surrounding ourselves with this vicious attacks, that there isn't going to be some result, cause and effect. And I was contemplating that, and I was just really quiet, feeling my breath going in and out, and it was really slow. And I just suddenly had this moment of becoming totally clear that we are walking inside ideas. That we spend so much time thinking, what am I thinking? That's so small. In fact, our thoughts are just a reflection of ideas. This is a really important point. We are surrounded in ideas right now. There are a million ideas that surround us. The question is, what are the ideas that we are aligning ourselves with? There are some people who have said, it doesn't matter. Ramana Maharshi says, don't people spend so much time worrying about the purpose. You're going to live your purpose whether you like it or not. Shunryu Suzuki, Zen Buddhism is just be who you are. And when you be who you are, you will naturally create the world that works. That who we are is naturally a beautiful place. But the problem is we have all this mind stuff going on, and we're catching ideas that are small. Look at the world that we're co-creating. When I actually look at the statistics of what movies are the most popular, those that most people attend and are willing to spend their money on, they're action flicks and they're horror movies. People are choosing to spend their money and their time, the majority of people, which is we're co-creating our world. Everybody's co-creating it, not just some of us. We are all co-creating it. And if the majority of us are still constantly watching violent movies and getting joy out of it, watching horror movies, there is a general belief system that this is still a horrible place, and we're going to keep creating that. So we need a mass. We were talking last week in the board meeting, do we want our community to be small and intimate, or do we want it to grow? And it wasn't, some people wanted it to grow, some people wanted it to stay small and intimate. For me, it's not about whether we want it or not. We need to, whether we have a million small communities or many big communities, we need to start getting a critical mass of people who are co-creating a world that is operating at a much higher vibrational frequency. Spirit is not evolving. Spirit already is. We evolve when we align ourselves with the higher vibrational ideas. Those ideas already exist. They are already infinitely powerful. We are not making those ideas happen. We are putting ourselves in alignment with it. So our intention, even if people get worried about their thoughts all the time. This has been one consistent comments I've had throughout my years of ministries. People will come to me, I just keep having this horrible image in my head that these horrible things are going to happen to me. Am I going to create that just by having these thoughts? I think thoughts are secondary to ideas. So we have, and the people who worried about it, it's never happened. If we hold those ideas and we just keep saying, this is what I'm for. So this is the practice. Relax, do that consistently, remind ourselves, put everything in perspective. What ideas am I for? And if we just do that, once in the morning and once in the night. What am I for? The idea that I'm for, not my thoughts, which are smaller, But what are the highest ideas that I want to vibrate with? I want to vibrate with the idea of pure, unconditional love for everybody, that this is a world that works for everyone because everyone is made in the image and likeness of God, that I am here for the love, the beauty, the harmony, the peace, the understanding, the compassion, the wisdom, the creativity, the abundance, and the prosperity to be alive and awake in each and every individual in this planet Earth, and sentient life, our planets, our animals, that all life, and this is what I'm for. And no matter what, this is the idea that I hold highest. And I claim that, whether I claim it out loud, which I think is very powerful if you did that, but at the very least, say the words. Don't just have like a vague thinking. By the way, vague thinking isn't very powerful. If you're thinking to yourself, speak the words clearly to yourself. What are you for? What are the ideas? Because these ideas are surrounding you. You are calling that into yourself, these ideas. You are aligning. So you're calling it into it, and you're moving towards it. You're coming towards each other. You're calling forth this higher vibration. You don't have to make it happen. And you do it at night before you go to sleep, twice a day. What am I for? And what you'll start finding is that you're going to want to start moving in that. You keep doing that, and you're going to start making thoughts and decisions and choices in alignment with the ideas that you are for. You can't help it. It's impossible for it not to start shifting. What am I for? We were talking about judgment last week, and someone was mentioning, has come up several times since then, so I wanted to bring it up. This idea that the more we notice that we want to be about love, and then we realize how much we judge, and we're always judging everything, and then we want to stop judging ourselves for judging. And we went down that whole thread. But if you notice, all of that is about what we're against. I don't want to judge people. Now I don't want to judge me for judging people. And that can be a never-ending process. It is so much more powerful to say, oh, I notice I'm judging people. Okay, what am I for? To stop trying to do something, to try to stop judging is much harder than to say, I am for finding love. Oh, I've been judging myself. Oh, I am for finding love in myself. I am for finding love in other people. I am for finding the goodness in other people. It is a powerful force and energy that we are moving in alignment with the one power, the one presence. We say that every week. One power, one presence. One power, not two powers, not a power for good and a power for bad. One power. And that power is the power that's eternal. It's that power that is infinite. So every time I say I'm for it, I've just moved myself into a vortex of the infinite power of the universe. Come on, power, I'm for this thing on easily and effortlessly. Okay. It fell off the other day, and I didn't notice, and everyone's eyes were like down watching. So I'm trying to stay vigilant on my scarf. I'm not trying, I am. What are we for? I'm for harmony. I'm for ease and grace. I'm for understanding and compassion and forgiveness. Seriously, practice this. Twice a day. Seriously, practice relaxing and putting your life in perspective with the big picture, your to-do list. We want to start creating a life that maybe doesn't have such harshness to it. And the only way that's going to happen is with us, because the majority of people, unfortunately, are still watching horror movies that are about death and destruction. We have to change that. It starts here with us. Relax and make your ideas of what you're for. And then the third one is just be fully present in the moment. Just. This one is a really big one. I love Phil Jackson when he wanted to bring. For those of you who don't, he's bring the Chicago Bulls. They won 3 world championships only when he was coach. Michael Jordan has only won. He's always been this brilliant basketball player, but only won 3 championships when Phil Jackson was a coach. And Phil Jackson's intention was how to bring spiritual principles into playing NBA basketball. NBA basketball is highly intense. You have millions, I don't even know if it's billions, but at least millions of dollars focused in on teams. You have all this media. You have thousands of fans, everyone screaming at you to win. There is such, an intensity that most of us in our work life could not imagine, with everyone scrutinizing everything that you do. I was watching a sports show on Monday. It's a great thing about having a son and a husband. And they were scrutinizing everything the coaches were doing on Sunday. And I thought, could you imagine? I was thinking it was Sunday services. What if I had to sit there and listen to people just like, and then she did this, and it was just, and it's just like, oh my gosh. The level of harshness and judgment, that's when I became really aware this is a really hard world to live in, because everyone's judging every action that you do and has an opinion about it. And it's not just whatever, it's millions of dollars, and are you going to save the team? And so in the midst of all this high intensity, Phil Jackson is bringing the spiritual principle of just let all of that go and be present in the moment. Can you imagine? Just try to let all of that go, shuck it off, let it go, and just be in the moment. Be present with what's happening on the basketball court. Be present with one another. He had them build relationship. That sense of connection, oneness, as I mentioned last week, was very big in his principles. And to feel that deep connection with one another and be fully present and let everything else go. And for anyone who's played sports, and I'm sure it's in other things as well, music, is when you make a mistake, you keep going. You don't go, oh, man, I made a mistake, and you just start thinking about it on the basketball court. You are in big trouble. You made a mistake, fine. You just go and you keep going. You shift. You move into the moment. You stay in the moment. You can't carry the past with you. That doesn't mean you don't learn from your mistakes. Then they go and they look at their game tapes and go over and they relearn and how can they fix these mistakes. But they can't carry the memory of those mistakes into the next game, or they're going to be walking into the next game with this big, heavy burden. And that's what I think most of us do. We carry these heavy burdens with us wherever we go. What happened last week, or what happened yesterday, or what did I do in the office yesterday, or how was my conversation? Forgive yourself, forgive the other person, learn what you need to learn. I'm not saying don't learn, but then let it go. If we are going to learn how to be fully enjoy the present of the present moment, we have to learn to let go. Let go and allow that a moment to arise effortlessly by itself without any help from us, and we are going to start experiencing this extraordinary joy that we cannot explain. I find it all the time happens in Zen meditation. It's happened every class we've had Zen meditation. We meditate and we just have a conversation afterwards. Friday morning I wake up and I'm just so full of joy. And I'm always going, well, why am I feeling joy? Like, was it? And I'd go back through the conversation. I'm like, yeah, I like the conversation, but yeah, that wasn't it. It was just being still, watching my breath for 40 minutes with a group of people. There just becomes this effortless joy that we do not create of ourselves. We are made in the image and likeness of pure joy. Not because of an external circumstance, not because we've gotten a certain amount of salary or we've won an NBA championship. By the way, how are the Cowboys doing right now? No, I'm just kidding. Not that it matters, but it's not because of the external, because we've fallen in love, we found the perfect person, that there is a joy that is so much deeper than that, that is always there if we just stop and allow it to arise. And we do that by letting go. Letting go and just let the moment be what it is. And when we do that, that natural essence of our beingness, which is joy, which is eternal, which is birthless and deathless, that can never be hurt, harmed, or endangered ever. So regardless of, and I'm going to say that because we do go through very difficult times. I think Sheila was mentioning she went and saw Selma, and just the violence, the pain of what was done to some of the demonstrators, and they don't respond nonviolently back. People we go through in our life right now, you may be going through something that's very difficult. When I'm talking about joy, I'm not talking about pretending that pain isn't there, but even being fully present with that pain, something else starts to come through. There's a reason why people who've gone through incredibly difficult and painful experiences say it's the greatest thing that ever happened to them, because that's often when we discover a light that isn't made of this world. We discover a joy, a peace, and a love that isn't of this world, that we can never even attain. In fact, I didn't even know what unconditional love, humanly experience it from another person, was until I was at my darkest place. It wasn't when I was already feeling loving and joyful and I'd fallen in love. That wasn't it. When I really got that there is a love that transcends human conditions and circumstances is when I was in the lowest place. It's sometimes in those darkest and most difficult places where we discover this transcendent, unhurt, harmed, or endangered presence that is within us. That's what happens when we start being in the present moment. And we also have Phil Jackson's example that his years of meditation and stillness helped him get really mad at the ref without getting overwhelmed by his anger. I thought that was a funny way to use stillness, but I can be really enraged, but not identified with that rage. So you're going to start experiencing a joy that you can't explain. Relax. Seriously, right? Seriously, do it every day. Relax. Put your life in perspective with the great big picture. Know what you are for, that there are all these ideas. These ideas are important. These ideas are eternal. And when we move into alignment with them, our lives become a vital importance to the evolution of this planet to becoming heaven on earth. Relax. Know what you are for every day. Every day. Not just vaguely, not like, oh, yeah, da, 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 da. Say it articulately to yourself out loud or in your head, morning and night, twice a day. What am I for? Move into alignment with the infinite power of ideas. And 3, be as much as you can, be fully in the present moment. Allow whatever's arising in this moment, and you don't need to hold on and attach to anything that's in the future. You don't need to resist things in the past. You don't need to hold on and carry this big baggage of stuff with you. Learn to let go, learn from it, and then let it go. Let it go. Be in the present moment. This is all any one of us ever needs, the present moment. That's why The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle was so powerful in our culture, because it was so like, wow, we're always planning for the future. And yet, if you just read his book, how many have read Power of Now? And when you read it, don't you feel like, just feel better reading it? Because he just keeps bringing you back to now, 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 now. And so now you're going to have the best week of your life. So I want to find out next week if people's lives are feeling more fun and more playful, a little bit lighter and a little bit more joyful if you practice these. Like I said, if it didn't work, I'll edit it. But I think it will. Who's going to practice it this week?